Panama,
Say the name.
Orlando, Freddie, Eric, and Jamal.
Say the name.
Sandy, George, and Brianna.
Say it.
Make me wanna scream and holler.
I'm Al McFarlane. Welcome to the Friday edition of Conversations with Al McFarlane. Love that music, the music of our friends Gary Dennis Hines at the Sounds of Blackness, and always inspirational, always reflecting where we are and where we need to go. And those are obviously famous words from Fannie Lou Hamer, sick and tired of being sick and tired. And I think that describes the feeling that all of us have now, particularly as we are also besieged by COVID-19. I'm pleased to have co-hosting with me today, Dr. Rivada Garrett-Akinsanya, who leads the African American Child Welness Institute. She is the principal and CEO at Drakens Psychological Services, a counseling and mental health services firm. And Dr. B, we call her, how are you? I saw you checking in here. I think you're there. But if you're there, let's greet the audience today.
Welcome, everybody. I'm happy to be here and very
excited
about this new opportunity.
There we go. Now got your video and the audio.
Okay.
And let me introduce you to a new friend who's going to be part of today's program. We'll try to integrate his message into the idea that we're presenting today as we develop the notion of Healing Circles as our Friday template and feature for this program every Friday. But I'm pleased to introduce you to Robert Hanson. And Robert Hanson is a Spanish teacher at Henry Sibley High School in Mendota Heights. And he's got a few minutes to be with us just to introduce what he's doing. But the most important thing is that he reached out to say and to show with a photograph that he got his COVID-19 vaccination. And he was passionate about being the example, right? And doing that in a way and in a place, in a public platform that encourages other families, and particularly children or families that have children, but who are out of our communities of color. So Robert Hanson, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much.
And so talk about your motivation, first of all. Why is it so important for you, and I know it is, to encourage people to pay attention and to get vaccinated?
Well, I've got a personal message as well because of my own family. I have a father in assisted living, and his population is one of the most at-risk populations. They've had one of the most deaths experienced in this nation. And so I also am essential caregiver for him. So I go in to see him. He's in hospice. Mm-hmm. But also, I mean, I wanted him to get it, but myself as well. So I wouldn't necessarily be able to give him this virus as well. But also personally, my wife is from Mexico. I'm very much involved in the Latino community, and my ALMAS group, which is Anglos Latinos Motivados a Superarse. We've given out over 200 masks within our community to help the families that don't have the wherewithal to get these types of masks. But also I understand there's a lot of stories out there, some conspiracy types of things. We have a really bad history in our nation from in the 1930s where syphilis was given to African American communities in the 50s and 60s, where there were some problems as well with vaccinations, and it's caused a lot of mistrust in the community. But I also see that community, the Latino community that I deal with, or the African American community that I deal with, they are the ones that are suffering the most from this virus as well. And so I want to get the message out that this vaccination has been developed for everyone. It's not directed at any race. It's not directed at any community specifically. It really is everyone. And we've got hundreds of thousands of deaths already in this country. And friends of mine that have been in the hospital dealing with this deadly virus. And so I just want them to understand, or at least my friends and my community to understand that I'm getting it. My father got it, and it will be safe. I trust our professionals, our doctors, our scientists, and I think we all need to.
That's a powerful message, and I think you're doing the right thing. This is called testifying, right? And so we lead by example and by our testimony. Well, listen, I know you've got to leave to get back to class. I just wanted you to have a minute to share that thought, that idea, and that encouragement. If people want to reach you, particularly to be more knowledgeable about Almas and perhaps to provide support for what you do and what your students do at Almas, how do they connect with you?
They can contact me through the school. It's just Robert Hanson at Henry Sibley High School. My email is robert.hanson, it's ON, at ISD as in David 197.org.
And I told you before the show that Spanish is a second language for me, so mucho gusto en conocerle y quizá podremos continuar hablando de estas cosas importantes. Y todo día, y ciertamente, ¿cómo se dice? Deseando que la gente sea, ¿cómo se dice? Healed. Protected.
Sí. Bueno, el gusto es mío totalmente y me alegro que hayamos tenido esta oportunidad de hablar y me gusta mucho que tenga usted este programa para informar a la comunidad.
Bien, gracias. Adiós.
Muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias.
También.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Dr. B, how you doing?
I am just wonderful and just delighted to have this opportunity to do what we're doing and healing our communities, especially our BIPOC communities who are overrepresented by the virus ravaging our community. So thank you for doing this with me.
Well, thank you so much too. And so you and I are developing this collaboration where we want to explain what it means and demonstrate over time how we create and activate what you're calling the healing circle. And so, in disclosure, I'm here as a student at the foot of the master, trying to learn how we do this. And Dr. B, I know that you bring passion and knowledge and training, specific, knowledge and awareness. And so we and you, I'm following your lead. We believe that we can do something in this platform that brings value to our community, to people listening here in Twin Cities, but anywhere around the world. Obviously, we're using YouTube and Facebook. We hope to expand our distribution through Twitter and through Instagram as well. But we're developing that as we go. But we've done a good job so far. And I think that the potential for connecting is phenomenal.
Me too. I agree. And I love the fact that we are using technology to reach people who would not otherwise have the advantage of getting to this circle of healing and having the spirit, mind, and body connected in terms of the needs that we all have.
So go ahead, and I'll be the listener and the questioner, and you might share with me and share with our listeners what the vision is for the Healing Circle and how we can activate an actual specific protocol on these Friday sessions that brings the pool of talent that you've assembled and also invites other people to join in this conversation and in this process going forward.
Thank you. I will be glad to talk about it. We use in our original involvement with this project was to look at COVID and how it impacts the African American community, seeing as we are so disproportionately represented in the number of groups, a number of people who contracted, the number of people who get hospitalized, and of course, the number of group percentage-wise of who die from COVID. The clinic that I run, the African American Child Wellness Institute, is based on a notion that all of us were born to be well. And that what happens is when people talk of disease or brokenness, we just see ourselves more in a less state of wellness. So in our community, it's easier for us to talk about degrees of wellness. Is on a continuum of being not so well, being very well, or or not well at all. So I use an African-centered wellness model in my clinic, and it is a strength-based model. It doesn't say we're broken or diseased. What we are is out of our original balanced state of wellness. And this model that we have created surrounds all life areas. I was going to try to share my screen. I don't know if I have that capacity here.
I think you do. Let's
Let me
see.
see.
Yeah, there's a share screen at the bottom.
Okay, I'm going to try to do that. And let me see. I don't see my thing here. Let me see here if I can find it. There it is. And I can make it
And I think
a page display.
if we have problems, we can get Kelvin to do it too.
Okay.
Yeah, let's try it.
Yeah, let me see if I can just make it bigger.
Mhm.
I can see it, and it may be the view. Get it on page. And there's a zoom option, so maybe I can pan and zoom in.
Mhm.
Yeah, I might need Kevin because nothing's happening. Oh, there we go. Wait a minute, I can make it happen. Now let's see if I can make it bigger or smaller. Yeah, I'm getting it. There we go. There we go. I'm getting proficient at this technology now. I'm so proud of me. Let me see if this is gonna work. Okay, so it says, I don't know. You know what? I don't know if it's gonna work, Al. I can see it, but I don't think I can share it. Can you see it?
I do not see it. I do not see it.
Yeah, well, there we go. Leave it to a psychologist to not know how to use technology. There we go.
Well,
here it says share your screen, your entire screen, or
send it to Kelvin.
Okay, I think I got it though. I might. Let's see if you can see it now.
Okay, I'm waiting. I've got a full screen. Let me exit the full screen.
It says stop sharing, and now it says I can't. No, yeah, I'm gonna have to send it to Calvin. This isn't working. Okay, I'll send it to Calvin.
And he can vote it.
Yeah, so meanwhile, while I'm sending it to Calvin, what I would go ahead and do is talk about the model that we're using in this African, and I guess we can add it in later as we discuss more about it, but it's an African-centered wellness model, and it relies on the use of the Nguzo Saba, which African people use as a way to discuss Kwanzaa. When we talk about Kwanzaa, everybody kind of knows what Nguzo Saba, which means the 7 principles. And we use these 7 principles as life guarding or guiding parameters or values. And one of the values in the Nguzo Saba, of course, is the value of faith, which is used by the Swahili word that we know. Swahili word for faith is imani. And that means that part of our own wellness is around our spirituality and our need to show that. And we're not talking religion. We're talking about our connection, to God. And so what we want to do is make sure that when we talk about wellness, that we have the spirit as part of discussion. So I'm going to send this. It's going to say African-centered wellness. And so we talk about wellness as part of our spirituality, as part of our overall wellness.
Calvin put a note and said it was up, but we couldn't see it. Yeah, he said it was up, but apparently we couldn't see it, Calvin. I didn't see it.
Yeah, I didn't see it either.
Yeah, he's sending a note in the chat, but if he
send
it to him, he can put it up. Yeah.
Okay, I think that's probably the best route, is to let a professional deal with the model. Let me just send this to Calvin. I'm feeling a lot better about sending it to Calvin than I do about keeping it. So So here we go.
Yeah.
I've sent it in to him right now, so that should
Okay.
give
Great.
us this. So anyway, so the first part is about about spirituality. The second part of the model is about physical wellness, and it's based on the value called Kuji Chagalia. Chagalia means determination, and we use that to talk about physical wellness, so that people know what you eat, how you engage in sexual practices, how you use your body for drugs or alcohol, or even for shelter and safety. That's
Mhm.
a core part of Kujichagulia, that you have an ability to determine your wellness, that you're not shackled in slavery anymore. So you have your body, you own it. And that means that when you get ready to protect it, you think about things like taking vaccinations when they're available. That's one of the reasons when we talk about the Tuskegee syphilis experiment, is that when they did find the cure, they didn't access it. They weren't given the information or the availability of the cure for the syphilis. And now we've got a Black woman who've discovered a cure for COVID, and we still are afraid because of the syphilis injections they were doing as part of that experiment on the Black men, of course, in Tuskegee. So now we know that we have this and it's available, and we're still afraid. But sometimes courage is doing the things that you're afraid of, even though you're afraid, because you have to. And if you want to save yourself and protect your children and your families and your heritage, because a lot of us are single parents, we
Mhm.
can't afford to die. We can't afford to give up on ourselves. And every tool that we can find to fight for our lives, we need to access those tools, because our children, they need us. We can't be so irresponsible that a cure is out there and we're not trying to take it. That's not an option. The next one is emotional wellness, and feel free to interrupt me at any time.
So I see that we have the screen sharing now. Do you see it?
Yes, I see it.
Great. Okay.
Awesome. Yeah.
Okay.
And so the next area of wellness is Ujima. And Ujima is collective work and responsibility. This is where emotional wellness sits here. Because my brother's problems or my sister's problems are mine. And I share responsibility for being there for them, to help them make good decisions, help them have a space that they can talk about their pain. And emotional wellness is really collective. We know that almost every emotional disorder that people could possibly have is rated by the degree to which they withdraw from others, shut down, or dissociate from reality. All of those are cut off emotionally from other people. So when you engage in a healthy manner with your community, that's how we show that we're emotionally well. We care about other people's feelings. We can even identify and articulate our own. We can regulate our emotions. Those are signs that we are emotionally well. One of my favorite parts of the wellness model is called Busara. That is not part of the Ngozo Saba, which is the seven principles of living. I added it in because I understand that intellectual wellness is just as valuable as
Mhm.
other kinds. Now we talk about intellectual wellness mostly by education and book learning, but in the African tradition, we also learn by fables and stories and metaphor. And so someone who's got a second grade education like my grandma Alice, or my dad had third grade, who grew up in slavery. My dad was born in 1898, and I often tell people that he had a third grade education, but he was one of the smartest men I ever met. And that principle called Busara is practical wisdom. And that means common sense.
Mhm.
So not only do we want to endorse having book learning, but more importantly, we want to use our knowledge to actually do something with it, to use it to make good decisions, to use it to apply in our everyday lives. The next part of the principle is called vocational wellness, and that's called your nia, or your purpose. So all of us have a calling. Some members of the audience, their calling may be making pies, like my sister Rose McGee, or it could be being able to teach, or being able to touch people through media, like you do, Brother McFarlane, or it could be a psychologist like I, or a doctor who heals. So your calling is your divine purpose. people who are working in a vocation that is their calling, they would go to work for $1 if they didn't need money, because they love it and it comes more easily and naturally for them. And so when you find your purpose or your calling or your nia, you know those are gifts that God gave you, that the Creator gave you, and you're to use them, and it makes you have a balanced part of your life. Another part is called kuumba. And I love this part as well because it's about creativity or cultural wellness. And I think about us as a people, how, and I really love talking about it in terms of Black women. Because one day you can have your hair weaved down your back. The next day you can have some braids. 3 weeks later, it can be short and red like Rihanna. I mean, the different head wraps we use, and our brothers with the styles that come out and people around the world emulate. We have creativity. You know that creativity has lended to our cultural survival. And we think about how in those slave camps and on the fields, how we would make hoe cakes and how we had greens and cornbread and people didn't think we had anything to eat. And how Black women can go in the kitchen, and brothers too, throw stuff together and make a way out of no way. Think you had nothing to eat, and now you got a feast. So Kuumba, that cultural ability to navigate challenge by having creative ways of thinking and putting things together, those are core parts of our survival as a people. And nobody on this planet can claim to be more creative than us as people in the African diaspora. We make ways out of no way. Then the next part of the wellness model is the financial wellness, because we know that in this country, there's a disparity in pay by gender and definitely by race. And we know that for every dollar that a white man makes, a woman makes, a man makes, a woman makes 72 cents. But I don't know if people know that for every dollar a white person makes, a Black person makes 62 cents. So we still are underpaid and overworked. And the statistics around working and finances shows that Black people work an average of 458 more hours a week than any other groups in America. So we are very hardworking, and those stereotypes about us being lazy, well, they're just lies, because we know you don't grow a whole nation on the back of lazy people. The
450 hours more per year, right?
Per year. Yeah, than other groups. And then we talk about financial wellness with the value of ujamaa, which is cooperative economics. And the best way I think about that is, I remember being in college and not having enough to order pizza, but my roommate would look in the bottom of her purse, somebody down the hall would look in the couch, and before you know it, we pulled our resources and we could order a large pizza so we could stay up, eat, and study. So in our potlucks in our community, you may not have money, but you got some bread, and your cousin might have some fried chicken, and somebody may have a pot of greens or some beans. And next thing you know, everybody can eat because we bring our gifts to the table. So financial wellness is not just money, it's value of your time, your energy, your skills, your resources. So Uja means it's either time or money. Whatever you bring to the table, it's of value, and that's how we survive. So it shouldn't be that in our community we have people who don't eat. Because I remember being raised up in a little town called Florida, Texas, and my mom, if she made a big pot of greens or a big pot of beans and bacon, she would take it to the neighbors. The neighbors would bring stuff to us. They had bushels of apples, we get some. So that aspect of sharing resources is one of our major strengths. And finally, which it leads to the value of umoja, which is unity. And that's our social wellness. And this social wellness means that we think about our actions and what our actions do to us as a people. We think about ourselves. We have this Khan saying that it says, I am because we are. I exist within the context of my neighbors and my community. I know that when I work with Black children, and sometimes if they do something well, I'll take them to McDonald's and get them something to eat. And I noticed that with the Black kids who grow up with umoja or unity, they may not eat all of their chicken nuggets because they want to take some home. Or they may not eat all of their burger because they want to take some fries home to their brothers and sisters. And
Mm-hmm.
so it taught me that when I go out, I'm going to bring back a whole box for everybody. Because what we do is we think about these structures are so independent and European based that it's more based on the value of an independent person as opposed to a collective. But people, BIPOC communities, we're very interdependent. We're very collectivist and communal. And if one thing happens to one of us, we all feel it. If something bad happens, Black folks, we'll look at TV. Next thing we know, we go, oh, I hope that terrible thing doesn't have a Black person doing it.
Right.
Because we feel it, right? We feel it. And white people don't have that phenomenon. They don't say, I hope it's not a white man. They don't have that because that connection of brotherhood and sisterhood is not ingrained as socially part of their fabric. So the umoja is we go up or down together. That my brother's success or my sister's success is my success. That's why being a Delta, even though Kamala Harris is an AKA, she's still one of the Divine Nine and she's my sister. I could socially be very proud that I have a first Black vice president woman, one of my soror adoptees in the other side. So that's what we have to, that's where we come in with social wellness. And that means we take care of our environment. We don't pollute. We make sure it's safe. We make sure people are there and that our children are cared for. All children belong to us. All children are our children. And in the middle of the model is the construct of Marua. And Marua means respect in the Swahili language. And the Swahili language has 26 words for respect. But Marua is the highest form. Is no form of respect higher than Marua because it ingrains all of these values and respect for all of those life areas. And it means that you respect your life, you respect the lives and needs of your brothers and sisters, not just Black folks, but all folks. You respect the world around you. You respect nature. You respect the animals. You respect the sky. You respect the creator who made us all. And that is the most divine aspect of our principle, is that when we promote overall ecological, holistic wellness, we survive and thrive as an African people. So when we have these healing circles, the purpose is to regain, reclaim, repurpose our commitment to our overall wellness as a community and as individuals, because children come in a thing called families. Families come in a thing called communities. Communities exist in a thing called society. And societies exist in a thing called the world. And as we do that, and if we honor the circular power that gives us all access to the center space of Marua and respect. That's why we use circles, because everyone, big and small in power, has equal access to the center to gain and give respect. That's what we're talking about when we do our wellness.
That's powerful. And so respect is the core of everything. Respect is limitless, it seems to me. As you describe it, I'm picturing not only the image on our screen here, but picturing the practice of respect and how infinite the notion of respect is. Because as you described it, respect provides us a way to approach anything and everything in existence.
That's right.
And maybe even that which that it's not known to us, or that which doesn't exist that may come into existence, right? It's an attitude and a protocol, right? That allows you to operate from a place that really reveals your true identity, your purpose, your ability to participate economically with the whole, to be creative, to I'm looking at the chart here, to be and reflect your responsibility through collective work and
Mhm.
through reflecting faith and self-determination. All of that
Mhm.
feeds into and is revealed by a core strategy structure based on respect.
There you go, brother. You got it all.
What I'm
You just
hearing.
said
And
it. That's
so
what we're saying.
how do we bring that into a program that we're going to do every week? How do you envision that? How are we going to make it happen here?
Well, I think one of the core challenges that we all have right now is, of course, the COVID virus.
Hmm.
And so it gives us an opportunity to look at how we're reacting to COVID as women and men and people of color. It's giving us an opportunity, especially as African people, to look at our historical trauma and our ongoing trauma and grief and loss. It's helping us to look at it from a perspective of what we need to regain to stay balanced and well and whole, what we need to regain to have a sense of shared access and power in our everyday lives and in the lives of impacting our community. So each week, we will have topics that will relate to this model of wellness.
Hmm.
Each week, we will bring in guests, as you know, from community experts to mental health workers, and each week we will have a topic for the first hour that is a very open topic for the community to discuss, but knowing that each of those topics may touch various aspects of our sense of wellness. We'll come from it with, as you know, as you always do, from a place of love and respect. And it's going to make us have to take some critical self exam analyses of what are we doing to promote that wellness in ourselves and in our children and in our community, and how can we step up our game and find skills and support in doing that. So the first hour that we meet will always be around a topic that's relevant to our community and especially relevant to COVID and being safe and well. And the next hour of our meeting will leave from the public arena and go to what I call a healing room, and we will step out of the radio broadcast and the multiple media broadcasts and go into a private space and a breakout room where people can share their grief and their pain. And I'm sure we will cry and we will laugh and we will look at how to heal beyond that, how to move forward with those principles and regaining them in our lives, how to live it, and how to find skills that will strengthen us. So I would love to make sure that as we go forward, that we step into that second hour of that healing space where we can talk about our grief, our spirituality, our physical threats, our culture, our economics, our teachings, our emotions, and we can look at how we can use the assets that we have to be socially, emotionally well and claim marua and balance again in our lives. So
Uh,
that's the goal.
yeah, a note. We had a note from Michelle Webb, I think, just thanking us for the program, and we thank her for listening. Michelle Gibson Webb said that's very nice. People need to practice these principles. So I want to take a second to thank all of you who are connecting with us on YouTube. We want you to subscribe to this program. If you're connecting through Facebook, like us and share us. You can also start a watch party so that we create an expanding family of friends, really, who are about the work of reclaiming, regaining, and repurposing in ways that reflect our commitment to healing, to becoming our authentic selves. And so, what we're going to do then is have a series of topics that we'll lay out in advance and promote across our social media pages. Let you know who some of the invited panelists will be speaking to the particular specific topic of that day. But we will always be open to the direction that the Spirit may bring,
That's
and
right.
things can change. That's part of this, is being responsive to the moment, to the needs, and to the opportunities that arise whenever we get together. And so we have a plan, a structure, and as Dr. B is saying, we'll set up a spread mechanism so that after the 1 hour, first hour of this podcast and broadcast takes place, you'll be invited to and shown how to go into a breakout room, and we can do part 2, and that's more interactive, more engagement. I think it's going to be a wonderful thing. And I think as we develop this, Dr. B, I'm hoping it's a model that can be available and accessible to people anywhere on the planet. We start here because we are here, but the here that we are is not limited to the geography that we are in. The here that we are is really a space that touches and can touch and connect with any of us anywhere. And the us that we're talking about, though we are coming from our lived experience as Africans in the New World, as New World Africans, as I call us, we are coming from a space that at the essential core is is basically and simply our humanity.
That's right.
And for that, and through that, we claim the ability to connect with any and every other human being in existence. Does that make sense?
That is very true. The Ubuntu and that connection of collective humanity, knowing and recognizing that we're all brothers and sisters on this planet. Because then when I'm well, I can be well with you, and you can be well with me. Because when we become individually responsible for sharing our wellness, I tell you, the world changes around us. Our perspectives and perceptions, they change, because looking at a glass that's half full versus a glass that is half empty changes your whole mindset, from seeing that you've got enough to feeling like you don't have enough. Seeing that you've got plenty as opposed to seeing that you come from a place of lack. And we are people who, as we do, psychologists call this cognitive reframing, but I just call it having common sense to recognize that you are blessed with what you've got, and that does not mean you can't get more, but you can live with or without. And learning how to make it, and knowing that you stand on shoulders of people who have lived with and without, and that we have overcome and we continue to thrive because of who we are and where we came from. It's a very powerful vision for who we are and where we came from. And in fact, Al, I wrote a Bill of Rights that, if you don't mind, I'd like to take a minute just to share with our audience.
Yeah.
And so the African-centered Bill of Rights goes like this. It says, I have a right to Imani, faith, and spiritual wellness, and to live my life in a way that honors that I am a child of the Creator. I have a right to Kujichagulia, self-determination, physical wellness, and to have access to safety, adequate food, housing, and health care to keep my body strong. I have a right to Ujima, collective work and responsibility, emotional wellness, and to have access to safety and a safe place to live and to share my feelings and deal with my anger, my trauma, my grief and fear. I have a right to Umoja, unity, social wellness, and to have a community that supports my dreams and my spirit, so that I never have to suffer or celebrate alone. I have a right to Busara, practical wisdom, academic and intellectual wellness, and to have an opportunity to gain the practical and technical knowledge that I need to achieve my greatest potential as a human being. I have a right to NIA, purpose, vocational wellness, so that I can work in a job that brings me joy and fulfills my divine purpose on this earth. I have a right to Ujima, cooperative economics and financial wellness, and to be debt-free, financially stable and independent, so that I can take care of myself, my family, and my community in a manner in which I desire. I have a right to Kuumba, creativity, cultural wellness, and to be recognized for who I am and for where I come from, so that my language, my spirit, my values, my culture will be honored and nurtured as a unique strength that I possess. I have a right to Marua, respect, balance, wholeness, and shared power. I have a right to abundant wealth, health, and life. I have a right to Marua.
That's wonderful. That's powerful. Thank you so much for sharing that. Michelle Gibson Webb again sent a note saying that she is loving this and reminding people that she's part of a group that teaches Swahili, the principles you've just presented in Guzo Sava in Swahili. And so she is letting us know it's kind of about that, and we'll get back with her about how we can make that knowledge and that opportunity available. So
Awesome.
your reading motivated me to think about something I just wrote, Dr. B. It's a piece that will be on the news front of the upcoming edition of Insight News. And it's appropriate for this conversation. I'm going to read it, but it's appropriate for this conversation because it talks about my experience. Bobby and I, Bobby, my wife and business partner, my life partner, and I went and got our COVID test last week, and we got it up at North Point. And one of the things that I want to do, and I feel a need to do, a desire to do, is to talk about getting the COVID test so that more of our people understand that we can and should follow the science and not be crippled or blocked by the injustice of the past. Not let our misinformation or disinformation keep us from pursuing what we believe to be scientific and knowledge-based solutions that are there for us. And it's easy to be skeptical. It makes sense to be scared, it makes sense to wonder. But we have to work through that and past that and take the steps that move us towards the futures that we desire. So I'm going to read this piece that I wrote that'll be in Monday's copy of Insight News.
So, Mr. McFarlane, I don't want to interrupt you, but I think I heard you say test, but you already got the test and you also got the vaccination, didn't you?
I meant vaccination. So
Okay.
thank you. Yeah. And thank you for correcting me on that. My daughter, Batala, tells me I'll be messing up all the time. Thinking I'm saying something different. So I want to thank you and acknowledge her for the comment that she always gives me. And I want to be more present. And so part of this is how do you practice presence of mind, right? And what's the right word for that, Dr. B? When you focus on what you're doing.
Mindfulness.
Mindfulness, that's it. So I'm looking to do that. So here's this piece. It says when we got our shots, our vaccinations up at North Point, and that's part of this story. Is the headline says North Point : COVID-19 vaccinations mean prevention, restoration, and healing and transformation for our community. That's the point I want to make in this. When the elevator doors open, a commandingly warm voice greets you and hands you off to one of three medical assistants who do the initial screening. They ask the questions we all become accustomed to. You have a cough, fever, or temperature, shortness of breath, been diagnosed with coronavirus, or been around anyone with the virus or who has been quarantined because of it. The screeners are bedecked in personal gear, gloves, masks, face shields, and full-length operating room gowns. They aim a device at your forehead and affirm that your temperature is normal. Another staff member is at the standby after confirming that you have been scheduled for the coronavirus vaccination. The staffer escorts you down the hallway to a cul-de-sac where you get the instructions and paperwork. Well, what you also get is a moment to consider the moment. You have lived with a certain fear and stress since March 2020, when the coronavirus pandemic launched havoc and disruption into the world and into even the most minute aspects of our daily lives. Now you say with your mind's voice, I made it this far, and I am grateful. And you savor the thought that in just 28 days, and for me, that will be February 18th, you would return here to North Point Health and Wellness for the completing second dose of the Moderna COVID-19 vaccine. The mind remembers the joy of embracing loved ones, of lifting, embracing grandkids, and shifts forward to the gratitude you will feel when you're able to hug the grands again. You smile. You smile also because you stand in a space awash with smiling eyes and hearts that see you and recognize you and celebrate you and telegraph with undeniable kindness and concern their joy at being part of your journey to prevention and restoration. The women and men, let me, I'll say these women and men, let me call them angels. You can call them doctors, nurses, technicians, professional healthcare workers, but whatever you call them, they treat you like they are on a rescue mission and that their paramount concern is saving your life. And while the vaccination is the point of it all, there's something else happening simultaneously. I call it transformation. The transformation is bearing witness to and being part of the level of excellence in care and attention that affirms your right to be here and your desire to live. You are gently guided into the next room around the corner where the person who will administer your vaccination invites you to his or her workstation. In my case, it was Pania Vitas, who asked which arm. And when I offered her to the left, a painless injection was over even before I could take a couple of deep breaths. So we sat there celebrating the moment with a selfie, which I posted on Facebook. The last part of the process was I wrote 30 minutes, but I think it was a 15-minute wait session in a larger room where there's 3 rows of classroom-style chairs set socially distanced apart, where the vaccinated could get a debriefing on what had just happened, the shot, the side effects, and what might happen, and further instruction on what to watch for, and also just give you time to make sure you're okay. So at the head of the room at North Point, there was a vaccination banner that gave you a backdrop for what I call this red carpet experience that you were having. So you were encouraged to go and take a seat in front or stand in front of this banner, this background, and take a selfie or ask somebody there to take a picture of you so that you could memorialize this day, a day of prevention, restoration, healing, and transformation. I think that's a good piece. That's a good story. And I plan to continue writing and asking people to tell their stories, how they felt. How did you feel when you got vaccinated? Testify. Testify. And the testimony creates narratives, and the narratives, stories, and the healing is in the story. That's what I think. What do you think, Dr. B?
Oh, I love that idea. And I'm scheduled hopefully to get mine. My husband and I are scheduled to go on Monday. So I'm inspired to do it. And I'm definitely less afraid hearing you say the painless needle. I was waiting for that part. That helped me to go, okay, I can do it.
Absolutely painless and quick and easy. And so what I didn't write, because I didn't have time to write it, but I have this picture in my mind of going into North Point, and I was telling my daughter about this, one of my daughters about it. I said, this building and this floor, the North Point office, is like a giant respirator. We are used to hearing the stories on the news about people being put on ventilators, right? So here is a ventilator for our entire community, and that the entire body of North Side residents, of people in 55411, people in Willard Homewood and Jordan and Harrison and North Side residents neighborhoods can go into individually and therefore collectively to find restoration, to sustain us, and move us towards complete healing. And so that's the image I had in my mind. So I'm thinking there's probably all kinds of ways to connect this, because it's more than just the shot. It is the shot. Yeah, and like I've heard them on TV say, yes, vaccine, but it's the vaccination, getting it into the arm of the patient, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that principle is an organic one that applies and has meaning and interpretation beyond the vaccination itself. And it's more than the vaccination even, it's the process. And that facility is a place that is alive and inducing and supporting and encouraging life and sustainability. That's my thought. And Doctor, because of that, I'm so proud and pleased and happy with the people up at North Point Health and Wellness, because they are modeling and demonstrating the power and passion they have as healers and their intense commitment to our health and well-being.
That's right. North Point is a beacon of wellness and hope. And as you were talking, I thought about, it's a symbolic, how you hold your breath because you're afraid. It's a symbolic way of exhaling. And when we talk about that, we're talking mind, body, and spirit. You finally get to exhale that I'm here. I'm here, and I am probably not going to be one of those statistics.
Yeah.
And someone I love won't be a statistic because of me. And so that's what I hear. I love that. I love that. But meanwhile, we need people to still wear their masks. We need people to still stay socially distant. We need people to still not congregate in closed places. We need people to stay home if they're not feeling well, and to call their doctors if they have temperatures. We still need people to be vigilant and continue to be safe, even if the vaccine is there, and even pre and post vaccine, you still got to act like it, because you don't want to give it to somebody in between. And so you have to be safe. And we know our motto is where COVID can kill you, but wearing a mask won't. Hashtag it won't kill you to wear a mask, honey. It won't kill you.
There we go. Listen, Dr. B, this has been a wonderful conversation as always. And we're going to be here again next Friday. In the meantime, watch social media, and we'll give you instruction on how to be part of the healing circle, and how we roll that out, and help you, how you can be participant in shaping this process for us being our true and authentic selves. I'm Al McFarlane. We'll see you next week. Thanks, Dr. B.
Thank you, Mr. Ash.